Hello viewers, this is Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. How are we all today? Before I start my other readings, having a look at what's been going on across the world and in the US with Donald Trump, the current president, I wanted to focus in on hope. I wanted to do a Spirit Files. I've been pondering hope, and I know I've done readings on this subject before. The Star of Hope comes up a lot in my readings. But I was looking back over the Nostradamus channeling I did, and one card actually struck me as very important. The Ace of Pentacles and that star in the sky. That, and if you look at the Star of Hope in the tarot, you have this very crystal clear light that is lighting the way. And I often talk about hope as being, I go back to a phrase that the former president of the USA used, Barack Obama, hope and change. I think that was one of his slogans, campaign slogans. I always found it interesting that he put change in with hope. And I started to think about that, and we've talked about this, as I've said before. But when I saw this card come forth, I thought it was quite interesting. We've got an ace, a pentacle up in the sky here. Aces are new starts. We've also got a road here. The sky is pretty black, and it's almost like that ace is lighting our way. It's pointing to something in the future. And so it struck me that very much the crystal clear light of hope is actually a spark that lights the future. Now, why is that important? Because when we are in a hopelessness situation, when we are in the darkest of perils, I guess, personal, emotional, psychological perils, you can't really see through that dark night sky. But if you have hope, then that is that spark that lights the future. And I go back to what Nostradamus was bringing through, that you need to follow your own light to light the future. And I think that's why that came back to me, because I feel that once you have hope, then it's the guideposts then that allow you to go forward on a particular path. And so if you've got that light within yourself, then that can then lead to change of your situation for the better. And this is not cliches. This is not cliches at all. This is actually very, very real. I feel that hope, when you're able to give someone hope, when you're able to turn a key that unlocks that feeling of hope, then you are actually able to change the future. And I feel that this is why Obama put that word hope and change. Now, that's not saying that we wave a magic wand and then everything's okay. That's not the way that this works. Hope actually is almost lights that furnace that is within. And as we know, we are a work in progress. But I feel that hope is a very powerful tool that we can use to move ourselves forward. And so how do we get hope? Often it comes from other people. Often it comes from just a sentence that someone utters at the right time, in the right place. It can come from also negativity as well. It can come when things are pretty tough with someone or a situation, and some key turns within you that hardens your resolve. And that is hope as well. Hope comes in many guises. It's not just a soft thing. It can be a very hard, galvanized thing that actually motivates our will to move forward. But whatever it is, hope is something that actually lights, that is the spark that lights our future, lights the way of the future and allows us to move forward. So I wanted to I wanted to pull some cards on that around hope and around the future. What do we need to know about hope? How does it work? Why do we need hope? Who can give us hope? Can we have hope at this point in time in the future? Can we have hope at this point in time? At this point in time in the future. Okay, so we've got the King of Wands coming forward, and the King of Wands, as we know, is somebody that is in absolute charge. And I feel that the message here is being in control and in charge of yourself. I feel that very, very strongly. I'll just bring the laptop down. We need to get back in touch with ourselves and understand that we are the determiner. We determine our future. No one else does. When we hand over control to somebody else, then we're really reneging on our responsibilities to ourselves. So I feel that hope is connected with self-responsibility. It is not just a cliched word that perhaps religious people throw around. It's actually quite strongly connected with self-responsibility. We've got the World card here, beginnings and endings. I'm going to pull 4 cards with the first being the past or something, the signifier card, the present being the second card, the third card being a possible future. The third card being the challenge and the fourth card being the possible future. So we've got the World card here. I asked what do we need to know about hope. I also asked can we have hope at this point in time. The World card, so taking self-responsibility and coming forward with action and inspiration, not allowing anyone else to determine our future. The World card is what is operating at this point in time, and that can be read on many layers. It can. The world is a very significant ending and new beginning, and I feel that when we do take that self-responsibility, we can end something or begin the process of ending whatever's causing us to lose hope, so that we can move forward. Now, our challenge, the 4 of Swords, apathy, retreat, sitting back. If this is you personally, when we are at our most hopeless, we tend to introvert ourselves, we tend to withdraw, and we tend to retreat. And that is absolutely, and I've said this before, in terms of hope and change, it is absolutely the wrong thing to do. But I do want to acknowledge that, I do want to acknowledge the fatigue. I do want to acknowledge the desire and the need to rest and withdraw from situations that are overwhelming you. I do want to acknowledge that. But it is our challenge. So there is a message also in relation to hope around being your own boss and taking self-responsibility. Because if you're doing that, you're understanding that you actually have to be quite, I was going to say rigid, but I won't say rigid, because I feel that everything is around softening through and opening up the heart chakra and also letting go. But at the same time, you actually have to acknowledge the need for boundaries and self-care, very important. So all these things together allow us to step forward, to take that first step, which is the most important step in everyone's journey, is that first step. So retreating on many layers is necessary, but it's also to beware of that. If you were pacing yourself, if you were understanding yourself, if you were taking self-responsibility, there would be no need to retreat. However, we're only human and we're only learning. let's have a look at what the future cards are saying. The Four of Wands is talking about celebrations, and it's talking about reunions with self, reunions with family, reunions with community. So this is where hope can potentially lead. It can lead us to, and I'm reminded of that channeling of Nostradamus, where in it he took me to his home, his backyard, if you want to put it like that, and we sat round almost a setting similar to this. It can lead us back to ourselves, can lead us into the future, can lead us back to ourselves. But also the future is hope is the spark that lights the future, but hope resides within. The Princess of Swords underneath the King of Wands, taking self-responsibility, is about facing the truth. You need to, I guess, understand, and again I talk about this on my other platforms, the need to really look closely and hard at the patterns of a lifetime. And if something is not working for you in your favour, if something is dragging you back all the time into hopelessness, then you need to change it. How do you change it? You need to acknowledge the truth. And sometimes that can be your part in it. That can be acknowledging that victimhood does not work. That stepping forward and taking self-responsibility does. And I feel that hope and change, I feel that this is essentially for me what the card of hope means in the tarot. It means taking self-responsibility, but it means understanding the power of you, understanding the power of your soul, of your spirit as part of the divine, which has every right, I guess, to walk in the light and not in the dark. Endings and beginnings. I talk a lot about self-responsibility and the spark of hope for the future. The Nine of Pentacles is talking about and linking into being responsible for oneself, but also having what one needs. So I feel that some of what is occurring in the world now is about recognizing that we should not hand our power over to others, that we need to stand our own ground and stand in our own power. And part of what is bringing that forward is the feminine rising, is women standing their ground. And this, again, I won't talk about my next reading, but Trump and women. I feel that the feminine rising, being confronted with someone like Trump, I guess the someone of his personality and type, is there for a reason. It's there for us to discover our own power and not to hand it over to someone else. But our challenge is disappointment constantly, whether we're talking about on a world stage or whether we're talking about personally our situations that cause us to lose hope. The Four of Cups, we need to acknowledge how the role that disappointment plays in our life. So you can be buoyed by hope, and then something will occur that will cause you to lose hope again. But in this card, and this is another of the cards that came forward with Nostradamus, which actually propelled him, the death of his wife and his children through the plague, propelled him on to look for other things, other ways to move forward. And I feel that was one of the things that actually made him want to explore the future, because he realised that focusing on what was lost and not what could be found is a challenge. And I feel this is a challenge that we all make. that we all need to acknowledge. It's very easy to be disappointed in others when they let us down. It's very easy to become cynical. In the other aspect of this disappointment card with the Four of Cups is divine discontent, which brings with it bitterness and cynicism. It's very easy to switch off and become cynical, but it is absolutely the wrong thing to do. Now, the High Priest, which is interesting, the High Priest is the Hierophant. This is spirit. This is connecting with spirit. And in this particular card, this person has hand pointing to the sky, suggesting that when we have that reunion with self, we come back to understanding the divinity that is our spirit, and the divinity, the spark of hope that lights the way. What is that spark of hope? The spark of hope is the recognition of our own soul, the recognition of our own divinity. So, acknowledging the truth. Okay, the Seven of Swords. This generally has a meaning of betrayal, and in this particular deck, this person is almost hoarding weapons to be used on others. So we can see again with this victimhood, I talked about acknowledging the truth and the disempowering nature of victimhood. At the same time, we can perpetuate the cycle by wanting to do to others what has been done to us. So when we do that, we're just allowing that cycle to continue. So that's very important when acknowledging the truth, to understand the nature of self-responsibility and how it works in our lives. The Tower moment, the great disruptor, it's there for us all in one way or another. It is the thing that happens at the end. It is an occurrence, it's an event, it's a situation, it's a person, it's a world condition, if you like, if you're looking at the bigger picture, that breaks down the old structures and allows us to begin again in the knowledge that when we understand the divinity within ourselves, the need to be responsible for ourselves, stand on our own 2 feet, stand in our power, we can actually move forward into the future. And again, in the challenge position, it's interesting. We've got all these negative cards in the challenge position: retreat, disappointment, and discontent. And then we have loss with the Five of Cups, a loss that actually causes a ripple effect. This person's standing by a pond. And we're talking hopelessness now, or the challenge to hope. Our reaction to loss, it ripples outward. It doesn't just affect us, it affects everyone around us. And so we draw others into a cycle of our own hopelessness. The Six of Cups. We're talking about, in this final column, the future. We've had self cards here, and I feel this is the message of spirit in this reading. The Six of Cups is a reunion with the past. It is a reunion with self. It is a reunion with innocence. And I feel that in the channeling that I did of Nostradamus, for him, he did go on to remarry and to have more children. I feel that the circle, the cycle of hopelessness through to hope, allows us to almost go back to the past here, and to a reunion with self. And what's hidden from our view, the Five of Pentacles, is this victim card here. And it's almost like when we are victims, we are introverted, we are hiding away from others, but we're also hiding from the light, and we're also hiding from forward motion, and we're not moving forward. And so I feel that hope Hope comes forward to bring forward the light that allows us to take that first step after loss, after disappointment, after retreat, after having to move out of a situation because it's overwhelmed us. Hope can take us right back to here, and it can lead in the future to a reunion with self and an understanding. This is the getting of wisdom. This is the rite of passage, an understanding of ourselves. And so I come back to the central message of hope here, and that central message is that hope is the spark within that lights the way to our future. So very important to keep hope, to keep your thoughts positive. That's in the tarot. The Star of Hope talks about keeping your thoughts positive, keeping your thoughts optimistic. But also understanding, I guess when our thoughts are positive, we understand the true nature of negativity and the true nature of spiraling down, and the true nature that negativity actually causes us to be stuck and causes us an inability to move forward. So the spark of hope is so important to light that way forward, to light that way to our future. But part of the spark of hope is to acknowledging what is holding us back, and to actively change that. When we have that spark of hope, it's all encompassing, and it allows us to understand what is holding us back, and it allows us to understand what it will take for us to move forward to a better future. So I feel on the world stage, on the macro level, right at this time, we are understanding what it will take to make a better future for ourselves and for our children. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. That was our Spirit Files, and it's on the nature of hope and why hope is so important to us. Thank you very much, viewers.